Some very interesting scenery here. I'm on the new could I call it motorway or dual carriageway? At least I can certainly call it that. Here in just north of Krakow. It's the last bit that they've actually redone this way. After that, you just go through villages, which in these conditions is a little bit scary, as I did have, even though I've got winter tyres on. They weren't always a guarantee that I didn't slide a little bit more than I would have liked, but I wasn't going fast, so I was able to keep under control all the time. It's interesting kind of terracing going on, almost like paddy fields on these fields over there. I wonder why. We're not exactly rice-growing country in Poland, and certainly not in this weather. So Oryzias genus being rather native to Pakistan and therefore, well, subtropical, tropical. Although there's all this business about C3 and C4 metabolic pathways and how they can adjust the metabolic pathway of rice, make it more resistant. But I think that makes it more resistant to arid conditions rather than colder conditions. Anyway, looks like we're coming to the end of a bit of this motorway, so we'll see some of the other thing. But that's not really why I started to film now. Why I started to film now, and you can see it doesn't really look too good. It doesn't look like that for the eye, but at the moment, at least what I'm seeing now through the camera, it's pulsing, as if this is doing 35 frames per second and that's doing 30 frames a second. I'm not sure, it's maybe the other way around, I don't know. I'm not sure it makes any difference, because every second it's going back and forth about 5 times. So yeah, but you can see that what's about to happen now is something that happens only once in the life of a car. At the moment we've got 299,990 there. So very shortly it's going to become 299,999, and then it's going to flick across to 300,000 kilometers. So obviously in a diesel car, well, you might expect to get, well, some of these larger truck style ones that, you know, you'd expect maybe if you were careful with the engine to get something like a whole, just be careful what I do, because there are these stupid green cars everywhere these days, and they're trying to deal with the people that didn't get pushed back and got through, the people that tried to get through via Belarusia. Because ever since that's when they've been, and you know, they stop these cars that look as though they could have hidden passengers, and they open them. But I suppose I don't think they're doing normal police work, but you know, you never know. So with the old film, keep it a bit discreet. And so anyway, maybe for the time being, until it changes across, it might be better just to show the actual scenery. Of course, I'm doing this in the portrait format rather than the landscape. I always used to film on YouTube. I've got 2,400 films, and of course on YouTube it always used to be landscape format, and now I'm doing landscape photography here in a portrait format, whereas before I was doing portraits a lot in landscape format. But it's what you're used to, I suppose. But I couldn't really change back, you know, when they started to have this business where there was as much going on with, so that you could put it, well, they didn't think of doing it from the beginning, so everybody who did it, you know, the other way around had to tilt it by 90 degrees and then cut bits out or have bits blocked off at the sides, and it wasn't very good. But now they've got it. They should have maybe thought about this earlier, because obviously people are going to want to do more and more on mobile phones, and the natural way to hold a mobile phone up is this kind of portrait way. So, 299992. That's a nice palindromic one. And then there's nothing of interest until 299999, and it changes to 3000 down there. So basically, these things are always of interest. In point of fact, every single change on that manometer, assuming that it doesn't get clocked illegally, which I certainly wouldn't do, but and I've had it since new, so effectively I'm the one that's done all those kilometres. I don't think anybody else has ever done any driving on this to speak of, and so each single reading, the 299993 now, it's only going to happen once in the life of a car. Each particular one is just as unique in a sense as the other. It's just they don't mean too much to us. Recently, there was a meme going around saying, "Oh, tomorrow's date or today's date is 123123," which it was for Americans. For us, it was 311223, which is not quite so interesting. But 123123 was what it was to the Americans. So people were commenting on it, and they said this is not going to happen again for however many years. It wasn't going to happen again, another 100 years. And then some bright spark said, well, look, every date like that, when it's expressed in that format, will only happen once every 100 years. Every single day. It's equally true of the day after and the day after that, etc. So in a sense, it's not that unique, but it just is a milestone. It's like something that our brains would be attuned to noticing as human beings. So, and on that note, I'm doing what is very human here, and that is that's a 4 in the end at the moment. Trying to capture things. It's going slower than I thought it would, because I didn't expect us to suddenly come off that motorway and be going through villages like this. Very picturesque, of course. Ciężki truck, that's very similar to you get a lot of words where Polish, with all of its funny letters, is mixed in with its ordinary English words. Now we've got the 5 coming up. But of course I mean to get, isn't that nice? A nice scenery over there. It's almost a pity to be in portrait, although you do get the depth of it maybe better. So it's white. It's all cold, and it's a cold and frosty morning. I'm not seeing any mulberry bushes because they wouldn't have leaves on. Whereas it's a little bit funny because they talk about cold and frosty morning and dancing around the mulberry bush, but every time they illustrate that in a children's book, the mulberry bush has always got leaves in, which when I was a boy, it used to annoy me. Like Morus is deciduous, you morons. Moros, you morons. Yeah. If anyone knows what Bombyx mori is, Morus, the silkworm, then they're probably a J.K. Rowling fan. But or Robert Galbraith, as she called herself. It's difficult to understand why people reckon she's so transphobic when she even writes as a transsexual. Actually, if this gets published, if this gets put out, I know that she's very litigious, but she's probably picked so many fights now that you can probably make any kind of comment you like with relative impunity. As long as you don't go pinching her ideas. Although I would say that a lot of her ideas were pinched from Sapkowski anyway, but that's my opinion. Okay, you can't sue for opinion. But Sapkowski seems to have had a lot of the ideas that turn up later in the Harry Potter series, but okay. And in numerous other things for that matter. But then again, Sapkowski owes a lot to Tolkien, doesn't he? So it all goes back to Tolkien, and where did Tolkien get it from? Well, he got it from the Old Norse sagas and other things like that. And they're not going to do any suing. They might come raping and pillaging, but they're not going to do any suing. So Tolkien's probably safe, him and his estate. which is also very good at suing, by the way, as we've seen in the news recently. So, very close to the culmination, the big event, 299998. We're at this lovely roundabout here. And it's okay, he's turning off that way. So we're sort of back on the motorway again. Oh, look at that! Back on a slightly bigger, I'm going to have at least 2 lanes at the point at which it goes across. Pick up a bit of speed while I'm going uphill. I'll let you go past me on the fast one. I'll probably put this up on YouTube rather than Facebook. They departnered me because I didn't put up enough stuff. I don't know if I'll ever get repartnered because they're always moving the goalposts more and more and more towards people that are either really doing it, trying to do it for a living rather than a little bit. But on the other hand, I apparently did get a payout from Hooliganov.tv. I was just waiting for that to take away the stupid adverts completely. So I might take the advertising off of Hooliganov TV now, because it's a bit silly now to have people watching adverts when they come on look for my things. I don't really want to. The advertising revenue comes so slowly. I'd rather just go for the regular visitor, the influence people having a good time, that rather than get $100 off them once every 3 or 4 years. It's not worth it. Just to spoil the website for that. Anyway, where are we? 299999. There we are. And any second, yeah, 300,000 kilometers this car's done. Well done, mate. That's what I like. And we'll see if we can stick another 100,000 on at least. Cheers.